It is 0 hour 30 Universal Time. I'm Jim Tedder in Washington. The United States military in Iraq says coalition forces continue to search for 2 American soldiers who have been missing since Friday. Reports say gunmen kidnapped the 2 during an attack on a small military station south of Baghdad in Yusufia. 1 American soldier was killed in that attack. In the city of Ramadi, American and Iraqi security forces have increased efforts to trap resistance fighters. Military officials say they are setting up security stations in and around the city to stop the fighters from getting aid. Also, Iraqi police say gunmen seized 10 workers from a store in a mostly Shiite area in Baghdad. And police found at least 9 bodies in the capital that showed signs of torture. The United States says it expects North Korea to honor a 7-year agreement not to test long-distance missiles. A Bush administration spokesman says government officials have discussed the issue with other governments and the United Nations to make it clear. He said the United States would react if North Korea carries out a test. Reports say North Korea is preparing to test a long-distance missile that is able to reach the United States. Also, North Korea has refused to return to nuclear disarmament talks until the United States cancels financial restrictions against it. Chinese Premier Wen Jiabao has met with Ghana's President John Kufuor in the Ghanaian capital, Accra. They signed a series of trade and technological cooperation agreements. On Saturday, Mr. Wen met with Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak in Cairo. They discussed ways to expand their country's economic and trade relations. Mr. Wen and Egyptian Prime Minister Ahmed Nazif signed several trade and cooperation agreements. They also observed the 10th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Egypt and China. The Chinese premier is on a trip to visit 7 African nations. He also plans to visit the Republic of Congo, South Africa, Angola, Uganda, and Tanzania. Palestinian officials say a new international aid plan is a good first step, but still is not enough. Hamas spokesman Ghazi Hamid says the conditions of the plan are unacceptable. He says Israel should also be asked to stop attacks in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. The European Union, the United Nations, the United States, and Russia approved the plan. It would provide Palestinians with health care, fuel, and other basic needs. But it continues the suspension of international aid to the Hamas government until the group renounces violence and recognizes Israel. The United Nations' new human rights group is preparing to begin work. The 47-member Human Rights Council will meet in Geneva, Switzerland from June 19th to June 30th. UN Secretary-General Kofi Annan is expected in Geneva to start the new council's first meeting. The new UN group replaces the former Human Rights Commission. Critics of that agency said countries with poor human rights records used their membership to protect one another from punishment by the group. You are listening to the news in VOA Special English. Turkish officials say security forces have killed 3 Kurdish rebels in a clash. The officials say the fighting took place in the southern province of Tunceli. Earlier, suspected Kurdish rebels exploded a bomb on a railroad in Tunceli. The explosion forced 12 train cars off the tracks. 8 were badly damaged. Fighting between separatist Kurds and Turkish troops has worsened recently. Last week, a bomb explosion in Tunceli wounded 2 Turkish soldiers. The Kurdish conflict in Turkey has killed 37,000 people since 1984. Pakistani officials say government troops have killed 2 armed men who attacked a military guard station in North Waziristan. Officials say the attackers fired at a security position in the town of Spinwam. The officials say soldiers returned fire and killed the men. The dead are believed to be local Pakistani tribesmen. The Pakistani government has deployed about 80,000 troops in North Waziristan and other areas bordering Afghanistan. The military is searching there for Al-Qaeda and Taliban forces and the tribal members that support them. Officials in southeastern Nigeria have declared a curfew after clashes between police and a pro-independence group. The governor of Anambra State announced the curfew in a television speech. He also said soldiers will be deployed in the city of Onitsha to stop 4 days of violence. A police raid Thursday led to clashes with the separatist group Movement for the Actualization of the Sovereign State of Biafra, or MASOB. At least 6 people were killed. In sports news, World Cup competition in Germany. France has played South Korea to a 1-1 tie in a game in the city of Leipzig. Earlier in Munich, defending champion Brazil defeated Australia by a score of 2-0. In Nuremberg, Japan and Croatia finished their game without either team scoring a goal. 7 teams so far have earned the right to play in the second series of games for the World Cup. They are Brazil, Argentina, Ecuador, England, Germany, the Netherlands, and Portugal. Finally, this news. Australian golfer Geoff Ogilvy has won the 106th United States Open golf competition in the town of Mamaroneck, New York. Colin Montgomerie of Scotland and Americans Phil Mickelson and Jim Furyk all tied for second place. Ogilvy is only the second Australian to win the U.S. Open. David Graham won the competition in 1981. And now, briefly, here again is the major news of the hour. The United States military in Iraq says coalition forces continue to search for 2 American soldiers who have been missing since Friday. The United States says it expects North Korea to honor a 7-year agreement not to test long-distance missiles. And Chinese Premier Wen Jiabao and Ghana's President John Kufuor have signed a series of cooperation agreements in the Ghanaian capital, Accra. And that's the news in VOA Special English. From Washington, this is Jim Tedder reporting.